Afternoon, Keller Williams, Greater Metropolitan. And thank you all for joining what'll be an awesome session today. We have two members of the Safe Harbor team, the founder and rainmaker, Pete Formica, and his right hand, and maybe at this point, both right and left hand, Art Wells. I'll tell you a little bit about these guys, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what they're going to talk about this afternoon. Pete, licensed since, is it 03?
Now you're going to make me sound really old. So, and part of what we're doing today is I was around during not one, but two shifts and potentially three. So I got licensed in 2000.
2000.
That's 23 years ago, Mike. So I'm a little bit older than you.
Just a titch, and I hope I never catch you. So Pete's been in the industry for more than 2 decades and has experienced multiple shifts. Pete is also a great example of our Keller Williams culture. Pete has been involved at the local, regional, and national levels with our company. Pete served multiple times as a member of the ALC, has held various positions in the organization. And is a huge proponent of what we do here and the opportunities that exist, like building a team. And so in building out his team, Pete got into business with Art Wells, who has been in the industry for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, 6 years representing buyers and sellers this month, and was a past client of Pete's, picking up rentals and flips in the period after the last shift. So that's he pre-qualified me and sold me a couple properties.
That's awesome. Now, I think that there is probably 49% of Art's success is going to come from 2 places. One, who he is as a person, his care, consideration for his clients. The second part of that first 49% of his success coming from obviously good mentorship and partnership with Pete Formica. But the majority, the other 51%, comes from the fact that he hails from what we like to call the 740. So little known fact, me and Art Wells grew up probably less than 15 minutes from each other in a part of the country in Southeast Ohio near West Virginia that still doesn't have anything other than dial-up internet. So from humble beginnings, Art Wells, to now his famous status on Pete's team as East Side Art. So both of these guys, incredibly capable, incredibly talented, responsible with the Safe Harbor team for consistently at above or around 100 units a year for the team. And so thrilled to have you guys partnered together, helping all of our agents have this conversation around pre-qualifying buyers and sellers, a big thing for this upcoming market. There will be a lot of opportunities, believe it or not, but not all of them will be created equal. So without any further ado, I'm going to let our subject matter experts take it from here. So Pete, Art, share your screens, take the floor. They're yours.
Awesome. Hey, Mike, thank you so much. I first want to congratulate all of you guys on this call. I'm not sure how many participants we have from the Market Center, but Ignite is foundational to launching, your career. And, we don't, Art, can you take the notes down? We don't have to screen share the notes. I'd rather see the participants if we can. Is that possible?
I attempted to pause that.
Oh, okay. Modern technology. Anyways, thank you guys for investing your time into your career. And, as you're going through the Ignite series, we're doing a daily 10-4. And I just wonder how many people have been doing that consistently since they started. And can anybody tell me what the daily 10-4 is? And Carrie, I don't know if people have to unmute to respond or I have to call on them, or how does that work?
Yes. Guys, feel free to unmute or leave it in the chat if you have anything.
Yeah, just checking in on the daily 10-4, who's paying attention to that. As we know, it's 4 things that are foundational to your business. And Art and I were talking prior to jumping on this call when Mike said, yeah, we've sold some houses and we've averaged about 100 sales a year for the last 6 years or so consistently. And part of that is having 10 real estate conversations, each and every day where you talk about real estate and you're proactive about asking for a referral. Art, feel free to chime in at any time on that.
Yeah, it's just matter of consistently being that person that is top of mind when people think real estate. And it might be just a question, doesn't mean they're ready to buy or sell today. And yet it's good to know that you've kind of cemented your position as one rather than one or two, because everyone knows one or two or more realtors. And so being that person that's the go-to for anything related to real estate, it takes being in touch with people. It's simple but not easy. Sometimes it's easy though.
Thanks, Art. And the reason I'm parking on this is Gary Keller will always say there's no problems. Some of you are experiencing a market. You don't know a shifting market. We are in a shift right now. It was pretty easy before the last half of 2022 to work with buyers and sellers. The phone was ringing consistently. Rates were at 3%, not 6 or 6.5. And a lot of people didn't have to do a lot of lead generation. And as Gary Keller says, there are no problems that 20 contacts each and every day won't solve. And I know some of us don't want to hear that. And yet, as a team, we still track that daily. Did you have your 10 conversations? Did they result in appointments? How many nurtures did you have? That sort of thing. And that's why we're kind of talking about that. How many contacts did you add to the database today or this week? That's the second part of the 10-4. And handwritten notes. I'd be curious to talk to any of you who have done any handwritten notes during this process. Have you had any success with that? And are you getting responses off of those notes? Because I know one of the things that I open when I have that big stack of mail is that little card that's the handwritten note. And, from any of you, if you sent me a handwritten note and said, hey, thank you so much for teaching the class. If you ever needed any help, and you stick your business card in there, I personally am going to save that card. And I believe that our buyers and sellers, a lot of them will too. So it's kind of going the extra mile. And then of course the new 10-5-1, which is social media, 10 likes, 5 comments in one post. And I think right now why that's valuable is you can put stuff out there that's educational, right, Art?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you verify the information, don't practice law or give legal or tax advice, and yet you can share your experience and direct people to some valuable resources. Like a friend who called me this morning and said, wait a second, do I qualify for the homestead exemption? I'm 65. I just turned that. Here's a link, check it out. There's a lot of, things they need to verify personally, but, as things come up and there's new opportunities, energy efficient appliances, if there's a chance there's going to be a rebate for that, maybe that's something they need to hear about. Or maybe, I'm not going to update. I'm selling this house anyway. It's good that you're talking about houses and just anything that feeds that, keeping the lines of communication open.
That's awesome. And, I know it's kind of lead generation is not really the topic today, yet it is. And, if you're thinking about, geez, I don't want to pick up the phone. If you spent one day a week and you did social media, you got on LinkedIn, you got on Facebook, and you put out a post that was educational, I can guarantee you if you did that consistently for 40, 45, 50 weeks out of the year, and you engaged folks and you added them to your database, your business would grow. So don't lose that part of the daily 10-4. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about buyers and sellers, finding motivated buyers and sellers, where to find them, classifying. So some of us use the language A buyer, B buyer, C buyer. We happen to use hot, nurture, and watch. And if any of you guys use command like we do, you can go in there under your opportunities. We're not going to go in there today. That one's above my pay grade. We probably need Liz Kosminski for that, but you can open the opportunity and you can classify them, right, Art?
Yeah, and you can put them on there for, how frequently you need to contact them, what communications they need to get, and just to have them in front of you so you don't forget who has at least communicated that they're able to buy, ready and willing to do so.
Awesome. So the other thing too, we're going to talk about is why qualify? Why is it important? I don't know if anybody on this call has ever gone on an appointment. You get that phone call from somebody, it's a referral from a family member or a friend, and you're like, man, this is great. And then you just go out, right? You don't make the call. Art's smiling over there. We've all done it. Hey, I'm looking to sell my home. Can you come over and take a look? So you don't ask them any questions. You just head over there. They're a family member. And then you find out at the end of the meeting, Pop-Tart, I love it, Bob Zimmer. That's true. We've all been the Pop-Tart. It's like, I need a commission. Sometimes we call that commission breath. But the truth is, if you don't know what their motivation is, you don't know when they're selling, you don't know the condition of the property, even if it's your brother or sister, and I've sold properties within my family, you want to have all the information before you show up at the doorstep, right, Art?
100%. Yeah, there's your time is valuable, it's limited, and so is theirs, and so are your other clients' time. So making sure that you're using everybody's time wisely, it's the most respectful thing you can do. And I think when they are that A buyer or hot buyer, they'll appreciate that you're not out, driving all over creation for somebody who's not going to buy a house while they need your undivided attention.
And it's about systems too. And I know a lot of us salespeople are not detail folks, and thank God for our administrators who keep us in line. But today you guys have a qualified buyer lead sheet, and you have a qualifying seller lead sheet in your packages, and those are in there for a reason. For some reason, I got the sellers there too. The pre-listing questionnaire, it's called. If you guys got the PDF that Carrie sent out. If you don't do anything today, take a look at those two and throw those in your regular, right next to where you lead generate. You're talking to somebody on the phone and they say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a home. And what it does for you systematically using this sheet is you have all their information right in front of you. Hey, I have your email. Are you still at 1234 Main Street? I know you have 2 kids, you guys, and so on and so forth. What is your preferred contact method? There's a lot of information you can get. And when you have them on the phone, this takes 5 to 10 minutes. And it's probably, Art, is it the best 5 to 10 minutes you're going to spend?
I'd say it's way better to invest the 5 minutes here than to spend, if I'm on the east side and I take a listing on the west side, 30 to 45 minutes driving out there, showing up and finding that this person is just, kicking tires. Not a great way to spend your time, and also to come out prepared so that the questions to ask when you get there, you can anticipate objections that they have, and that those don't surface and you have to think on your feet as much.
It also separates you. And I'll speak to more on the seller side because I've done more listings probably than I've worked with buyers over the years, although I've worked with a lot of buyers. If you're competing against other agents, asking all the really good pre-qualifying questions, will separate you. Specifically, what's motivating you to move? Where are you moving to? You can really get an idea of why they need to move, and then use that motivation later. Right, Art? Is that something that's worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, there are times where you're finding out, okay, do they want something that doesn't exist? Or is it just that it's so rare that thing comes up that maybe we need to revisit both the motivation and the criteria? Because if the motivation is there and the criteria are just too constraining, we need to almost redo the intake. Sometimes you need to fully redo the intake if they're looking for something that's imaginary in their current market. but they really do need to get into a place. So that motivation is key. It's always back to that, and you can find out, the right questions to ask to get them to a decision, because they want to buy a house. And if you can, at the end of a showing, ask them the questions that'll help them see themselves there, then they can get out of their own way and do what they know is best for themselves.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, the reality is we have a lot of discussions. So if you have 50 to 100 real estate conversations in a week and you're qualifying your buyers, there might be a buyer or a seller in there with unrealistic expectations that as a professional, you guys choose not to work with, correct? Has anybody besides me had a client that was a pain in the backside, that after they worked with them, they kind of thought, geez, I'd really like to give the commission check back, or, they were so stressful and the process was so difficult that maybe I should have referred it out, or just said, at this point in time, it doesn't seem like we're a fit, and I wish you the best. And we've done that in the past, right, Art?
Yeah, and if I can just briefly, I'm going to attempt to screen share something here as a visual. Let's see here. This is what you want to avoid, and it's what we call being the star realtor. I don't know if you can see that. That's a tour around the greater Akron area for someone who doesn't know exactly what they're looking for. And so that was the recent. That person is qualified and pre-approved, but their criteria aren't the clearest, and they need a little more coaching.
Well, and I think that's awesome too. And some of you have taken Bold before. I see Jade over there smiling. If you've taken Bold before, they do talk about the Star Realtor or the Pop-Tart Realtor. And, I know that some of us are new in the business, and I'm not telling you guys not to go on appointments. What we are telling you is to spend the time to build a rapport, qualifying your buyers, qualifying your sellers, asking the deep questions before you go out. So then when you do go out, meaning if you're going to the home to analyze the property, to give them a price opinion, or if you're meeting them at a Panera or the office in a conference room, whether it's a husband and wife team or it's an individual person, you kind of have a pretty good idea. Hey, this person is looking to transact in 1 to 3 months. This person wants to buy in Pepper Pike and Gates Mills. This person's been pre-approved. The reason they're moving is because they're transferred to Cleveland. And Art, it's funny because the pandemic has changed things, right? I see the social group over there. You guys are all in the same room. The pandemic has changed things quite a bit in that we were showing homes to people virtual. We would do a Zoom meeting. We would discern, some of the folks that, were working at the clinic or university hospitals and they were in medicine, they needed a house. All right, you want to share a story or two on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a period of time where, hey, this is new for everybody. We just buckle down and serve people, and the most motivated people showed it. They knew where they needed to be and when, and we had to get them there. They couldn't get here physically. They couldn't get on a flight, and yet you could get out there, do video walkthroughs, make sure they know the best they can, encourage inspections, and I sold a house to a gal. She was working at one of the hospitals, resident, and they showed up with the truck. They were from the the upper Midwest, and Dad shows up with the big belt buckle, and he's like, "Thank you, I think." And we give her the keys, and she goes in. They're like, "Yeah, it's just how we thought it was." And they were pleased and happy. It's a great house. Market's quite a bit up since that time. But we had to do things for people that, maybe you or I wouldn't do ourselves. And we just have to make sure they have all the information they need to make the best decision for themselves. So the one thing that won't change is that things are always changing. So that was what was needed in that market. In this market, it may be, it's going to be something else. But there was that heightened sense of buyer urgency and And now there's maybe less buyer urgency, and we'll have to see what it looks like to have that perfect meeting of the minds between buyer and seller, and how we can fulfill that.
All right, let's talk about where potential buyers and sellers come from. Do you have that screen on the percentages of how buyers found their agent? I found that one very interesting. See if we can share that with everyone. Okay, well, there we go. So oftentimes we're not competing with anybody else, right? So where are these buyers and sellers coming from? As you can see, all buyers, 47% of all buyers got a referral from a friend, neighbor, or relative. So 1 out of 2 people who are looking to buy a home in 2023 are going to ask, hey, who did you use? You know, you may see that on Facebook. That's a little bit better of a graphic. Thank you, Art. 47% of all buyers, 57% of first-time buyers, and 41% of repeat buyers asking their friend, neighbor, or relative, who did you use? So that just cements it's really good to stay in touch with our database. You know, not every experience is going to be perfect, and yet most of the time, if you're not getting called back, you see that used agent for a previous transaction, all buyers 13%. Does that seem low to you guys? You're allowed to participate, by the way. It seems low to me in that, you know, if we're staying in touch and somebody had a really good experience with us, the truth of the matter is they forget what? Does anybody know? It does seem low. I see the comment. They forget our names. And actually, I've seen some statistics where it was even lower than that. So the truth of the matter is we're not doing a good enough job of staying in touch. And there's, you know, we're going to talk to, there you go, Bob Zimmer. Thank you for the staying in touch thing. There's the 36 touch. When you first engage with somebody, there's the 19 to connect. And we can systematically use command. And I think that's one of the big things too, as we're talking about qualifying potential buyers and sellers. We can get all their information, right, Art, in the buyer lead sheet. We can get the pre-listing questionnaire for the sellers. If we don't enter them into our database and stay in touch, then, you know, we're lost. We're part of that 13%. We're just not top of mind. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, because I think as agents, we're super busy and we don't always use our lead sheets. Sometimes we'll get a lead from somebody, we might make a call, but we don't call, email, text, then drop them in the database and reach out, you know, once a quarter for a phone call, twice a month with an email. We don't have systems around our business. And once you can stay in touch on a regular basis, and some of the more seasoned agents could tell you, you know, how many people, when you ask them if they know a real estate agent, probably know 4 or 5 different agents. Art, have you ever had somebody use, family member or friend use somebody that wasn't you?
Yeah. I mean, my brother did, and he moved just down the street, but of course his wife, you know, knew somebody, used to work together, so they did that. But yeah, I mean, the surveys have always indicated that people have said, I would use this agent again. It's something like 8 or 9 out of 10 who said they would, and yet only 13% of all buyers are. So it's not that they don't have the willingness to work with that person again, just they don't think to. Somebody else is sending them quarterly or monthly postcards. They're magnets on the fridge. It's they're getting the personal calls. They're having a lot of you know, a lot of interaction. So they're just top of mind, and maybe you're number 2 in mind, but you know, they're only going to hire one. So you got to be one.
Yeah. And you can, I don't need that screenshot anymore if you want to,
Cool.
if you want to, yeah, that's fine. You can drop it down. That's great. So how are we cultivating referrals? Have you guys been talking about the Ford script at all? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I see that in my notes. That's really good because I think, and I know everybody's at different points in the game, and whether you're experienced or today is your first day, when you're talking to people, I think it's really important to remember, you know, we're a relationship building company. We're relationship building agents. Hey, Art, how's your family?
Oh, great. Thanks for asking.
No, hey, I was just checking in today. I was thinking about you, and I just wanted to see how's work going. Are you still working remotely, or are you working from home?
Yeah, working from home a lot, kind of hybrid, but definitely, you know, getting a little tight without the dedicated office space. But we're making do.
Yeah, I'm finally back in the office. It's funny because it's hard to get my agents back into the office because they're so used to, you know, working at home and doing their laundry at home while they should be making calls to their database. Just kidding. So you guys have any big plans for the summer? Are you guys doing any cool vacations or anything like that?
Recreation wise, we're starting to get into some stuff we'd put off, you know, a little bit of travel, see some family in Connecticut. Nothing huge. You?
Yeah, we we like to camp, so we'll probably go up north this summer, go to Canada and spend some time with family, and you know, we're looking forward to that. Do you have any let me ask you this, do you have any financial goals for this year? Are you thinking about maybe investing in real estate at all, or what's going on there?
I'm always thinking about investing in real estate. Have you seen any great deals out there?
You know what, from time to time we do get an off-market deal. Is that something that you would be interested in?
Cool. Yeah, definitely keep me in the loop if you hear about something. I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines right now. You can get a decent yield on short-term US Treasuries, and yet you know, that's not my long-term goal, and it won't be like that forever.
Well, I understand that, and there's nothing like bricks and mortar. I know multiple people that I've helped into their first investment property, and just buying one home and having the tenants pay it off can be a really smart way to, you know, retire. Do we need to get together? Do you want to revisit that?
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I want to be ready when the opportunities come. So if there's anything I can be doing now so that I'm not late to the party, yeah, let's do that.
Well, you know what? I actually I use Sean Hadley from Cross Country Mortgage. He's a really trusted advisor. Would it be okay if I had him give you a call just to see, you know, where you're at, and if we do decide to move on a property, you'd be able to, you know, write up an offer? How does that sound?
Sean Hadley, Cross Country. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, have him give me a call. I'll if you want to send me his number too, just so I know who it is when it comes in.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll text you that after the call. And it sounds like the next steps would be for us to get together. I have Saturday at 10 or Monday at 4. Which one works better for you?
Could you do Monday at 5? Any chance you could do that?
Yeah, possibly. You know, I'll have to get permission from the wife. However, for you, I can do 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Panera on Cedar. Does that sound good?
Panera on Cedar is perfect.
Great.
Thanks, Art. So, you know, just in every conversation that you have using that Ford script, most of the people that we're talking to, we know, even people we don't know. I mean, if you ran into somebody in the grocery store and you're having a conversation, you know, starting off with how's your day going? It's going good, you know, and I mean, it's really not hard to conversationally flow into that. And then asking them at the end, would you mind if we stay in touch, and in gathering all the, you know, the missing contact information. Real estate's an information game. And when we have the data, right, Art, we can build our database. And the more people that we have in our Met database, you know, and this goes back to buyers and sellers, because you have that big lead funnel, right? You have all these people. So maybe you have 100 people in your database. 6 to 10% of the people in your database will transact in 2023. And it's probably more like 10% if you count the direct people and then the referrals. So if you know 100 people, there's approximately 10 sales there. I know that doesn't seem, it may seem like, really? The key to all that is, are you staying in touch once a quarter, at least twice a month? Are you doing client events? Are you sending out emails? Are you getting in front of these people? So, you know, those are really great questions. Those are great questions for experienced agents like me, because sometimes we'll start doing transactions, and I don't know where you guys are at as far as experience and number of deals. But if I'm not consistently reaching out, even if it's family members and friends, like Art said, they might be in a book club. Kids might play on a basketball team together. You know, they might go to church together, and it might not be my church. So there's other realtors out there that are vying for our database, and just systematically staying in touch, letting them know you're in real estate, letting them know you're here to help them. Right, Art? That's kind of our motto. How can we help?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, people want to know that, you know, you have character and you have competence and that you care. So not only are you not going to screw this thing up, but that you're going to do what's in their best interest. And so showing that you care reminds them that, hey, you know, we're in the service industry. That's we're in the people business. We also sell houses. And so we're just helping people meet, you know, big needs in their lives. And you know, we're in a society where a lot of people are, you know, find it really hard to find anyone they can trust. And so knowing that you care will mean a whole lot.
I'm not hearing a lot of, this is an interactive conversation. So if you guys have questions or you guys want to make comments, just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak. One of the things too that I didn't want to gloss over is we talked about KW Command and all the things that it can do, and then qualifying buyers and sellers as A, B, or C. And for purposes of Ignite, the A buyers, I think, are within, you know, 2 weeks. And I don't have that slide in front of me, so forgive me if I mess that up. And then B, I think, are within 14 to 60 days. Is that correct, Art? Do you have that slide?
Yeah, let me get that right here. That one should be.
And whether you guys use A, B, or C, or you can use numbers, we like to say, hey, are they an 8, 9, or a 10? Yeah, so there you go. Able, ready, and willing to do business in 0 to 14 days. So if you think about the sales cycle, most people are looking for probably 3 months to a year. They're online, they're looking at Zillow, they're looking at realtor.com. They're finding out what their neighbor's house is sold for. They're stopping in at open houses and what have you. When you get an A buyer on the phone, I got an email yesterday from a client that said, hey, I got my pre-approval. I'm ready to buy at, you know, 250 to 300K, West Park, Lakewood, Eastern Rocky River. And I had met with him previously and he said, hey, I'll reach back out. I was just about to call him. But when you get that email, he's an A buyer. He's ready, willing, and able to do business in the next 14 days. B, buyer or seller, able, ready, and willing to do business in 15 to 60 days. And then C, buyer or seller, able, ready, and willing to do business in 2 months plus. One of the other qualifications we use is, you know, hot, nurture, and watch. Hot would be an A, nurture would be a B, and watch would be a C. And people will, I don't know, and you can drop that screen down, that slide, Art. Sometimes people will contact you. Has anybody on the call had somebody contact them and then sell a year or two later? Just me. They're just thinking about it. Hey, my kid's graduating and she, you know, she's in the 11th grade. When she graduates in a year and a half, what do you think the market's going to be like? Or, hey, how much is my home worth? You know, and you know, typically we can tell them what it's worth today, and we'd love to, you know, come out. I don't think it's ever too early. You know, different agents have different policies. In a shifting marketplace, I'm going to say this, and some may not, it may not be popular. Every appointment's a good appointment, right, Art?
It is different now. Yeah, I'd say if the options are going on an appointment this week or not going on one, I'd say go on the appointment. There's a million other things you could do. If they're income generating, do them. If it's lead generate, more. But if you're not like tapped out and you've put in 60 hours of lead gen, then I'd say, okay, you probably filled your time really, really well. But if that's not the reason you're tapped out in your schedule, then probably good to meet with that person. Because if they're telling you, they could very well just tell their neighbor and sell it to them off market with an attorney. So
Right.
Go on the appointment.
Well, and just so you know, I mean, we have some super successful, you know, congratulations, Michael Rapaski and the rest of the market center. I found out we're the #1 market center in the world. And that's because we have the coolest team leader with the coolest man bun in the world. Just kidding. I had to add that in there. But I work with an agent named Ben Kinney, who's the #1 Keller Williams agent in the world, and another guy named Brian Gubernick. I coach with them through metrics. And that's what they're saying. Like, hey, you know, as busy as we are, it's time to build relationships. And if somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house, maybe unless you're Ryan Young, and I bet you Ryan still goes on those appointments too, where, hey, I'd like to get a price opinion. I don't know what it's worth. I think it's worth 500. My neighbor sold for, you know, 450. I think my house is better. The point is, I think you do your homework, you pre-qualify, you find out, you know, when they're ready to transact. And you go on the appointment, you meet with them, you make sure that all decision makers are there. Anybody ever have one where you just met with one of the 2 decision makers, and then you had to either repeat the story, or, you know, husband and wife team, the wife has a friend who's a real estate agent, you don't get the deal, and you're like, well, geez, why didn't I get the deal? I'm friends with, you know, Bob and I, we worked together for 10 years, and, you know, they picked this, maybe it's the balloon company or something, God forbid. It's probably another Keller Williams agent, right? Because Keller Williams agents out there are going to pre-qualify. But Art, have you ever had that happen to you?
I mean, we even get them sometimes where they're, you know, it's pay-per-click advertising, and they get on there and they want to get a realtor to reach out, and 3 of us are going to, and you call, and by the time I got him on the phone, within the first 5 minutes, he says, oh, my wife just said we have a guy. And I'm like, when did that happen? Between the time you clicked 5 minutes ago and, you know, they're having a, you know, this is, we're watching the live stream here of them, you know, sorting out who they're going to hire for real estate. But yeah, it's oftentimes, I haven't gone on too many where there was another decision maker involved, because we're pretty careful about asking that. But yeah, definitely have been times where, you know, you're competing, but they won't say who you're competing against. It could be, you know, someone they reached in the same way, or it could be someone they forgot about and then remembered.
That's good. So I have a question for the class. What is your mindset around buyers and sellers right now in your personal business? I look at the numbers in the market center. Most businesses have been down, and I can tell you, I'll be transparent personally. We were down as a team about 25% and most of it was in the last half of 22. And yet I know there's plenty of buyers and sellers out there. Where are you guys finding your buyers and sellers? And what's your mindset at the start of 2023 about the market? And are there people out there that need to buy and sell real estate right now? You can throw your comments in the box if you don't want to speak out. But I'm just kind of curious. You know, you'll hear from coaches and different people that 90% of business is how we think. So how is our mindset right now around buyers or sellers. Because if your mindset is, hey, there's no buyers or sellers out there, then maybe it's true. I think it was Henry Ford said that, you know, what is it? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if you think there's buyers or sellers, maybe there are, maybe there aren't. But I think the mindset's a very important thing to kind of center around. Anybody have any comments about the current market? Are you guys struggling? Are you killing it? Mike, how do we get people to interact? I don't even know if Mike's still on the call.
I said I'll say something.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm only a month into it, but honestly, you hear everyone in the market. I'm not really approved for listing yet, but everyone's saying there aren't buyers. And I think it really does just come down to how much you're lead generating. If you're not working for it right now, you're not going to turn up anything. But I've been calling a lot of listing agents to get open houses and meet new people. And even through the connections I'm making with some of these listing agents, they're busy with all their listings and they want to, send a buyer my way afterwards. So it's about how you're working the angles. It's not that it's not out there. It's that people aren't willing to put in more work.
It's a very good point, Sean. Thank you for Bob Zimmer. I love it. The more agents that don't work, the better for me. Well, and one of the things that we're going to see, and it sounds like Sean's a hard worker, and I know all of you guys are hard workers, is we're going to see agents dropping off, because the truth is right now you have to get on the phone, you have to call people, you have to hold homes open if you have listings, you got to call for sale by owners, expireds, sphere of influence. Art mentioned Google ads and pay-per-click. It just depends on, what's your funnel, but you need to have 4 or 5 different sources. I would highly, highly encourage everybody on this call to take bold. Some of you may know this, some of you may not know this. I've taken bold 17 times. Part of it is because I'm remedial, but the other part is you get in with a group of people who are doing all the activities that Sean just mentioned. You're out there calling, you're interacting with other agents, you're hustling. This is not, it's simple, as Art Wells said, but it's not an easy business. Okay, I'm seeing the comments now. Trent's been on the team for 5 days, hitting the phones and learning on the phones for 6 to 8 hours a day right now. Set his first appointment for tomorrow. Sharon wrote that.
Nice.
Good job, Trent. Proud of you. The thing about it is too, and that's a really good comment, when you're newer to the business, if you don't have any appointments and you don't have another job, then what do you have to do but generate leads? Yeah, I mean, there's 5. What are the 5 money-making activities, Art?
Well, I think we need to script and role play.
Mm-hmm.
We need to lead generate. We need to lead follow-up. We need to go on appointments. And
Right.
you need to negotiate contracts.
Right. And not necessarily in that order. So if you're not scripting and role playing, you're not going on appointments, you're not negotiating contracts, I would argue that you should be lead generating all day. And, that's, if you guys know Ryan Young, who's one of the most successful agents in the company, there was times, and this is probably going back 6 or 8 years ago, I would see him in the office in Pepper Pike at 8 o'clock at night. And there's a story about him that the guy who used to sweep the floor, I don't know if he's still there, Mike Rapaski, but he said, this kid's going to be successful, because he was willing to do, and I asked newer agents this, and it sounds like, Trent and Sean and some of you on this call are willing to do that. Are you willing to do whatever it takes in order to get an appointment? It's a really good question, right? So the fallout rate in real estate is what? I think some statistics say are 70% in the first 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, in 5, it's like 80. It's almost as bad as restaurants.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Bob Zimmer says he started calls in the phone box. I don't know if he's talking about Gary in the box. There's another agent here that says, I've had my license for a year and haven't sold a home. and it's hard when you don't have leads. I had a lead, but I don't think the buyer was ready to buy. She always found something wrong. I think that made me more hesitant because I felt I was wasting time. I'm learning more and more each day. Congratulations on learning more. And I would encourage you to take as many trainings as you have. There's a bold law that says be, do, achieve. So, I mean, you got to get your mindset right and think, but you also have to do. And how do you get in front of more people? How do you increase your database? I also see the comment about doing open houses. Open houses are great. If you're a newer agent and you can team up with experienced agents who have listings, I would hold 1 to 2 open houses every weekend. Art, you want to comment on open houses?
Yeah, a few things. So, I mean, open houses, yes, get in front of people. If you don't have people that are past clients, you're a new agent, you don't have any past clients, right? The good thing about being new is that you have no assumptions that the phone's going to ring with come list me calls from past clients. You know, everything you get is going to be something that you work for. But when you're in that activity, you have the opportunity for stuff to happen. It's just, you know, it's like having lottery tickets. You have lots of stuff with upside, but actually have a good likelihood something's going to happen with them. I mean, I sold a flip in 2017, and it was, I was like, boy, these people look so familiar. And I met them at an open house, and they had been in that one, but then they came and bought the house that I had listed. And I was sitting other people's open houses. And so you just became, at least they saw you and like, oh, you're familiar. And you get to leverage other people's listings by holding open houses, getting to the neighbors, door knocking, having something to talk about. So open houses are great just for having content, just like online and social media content. It's something to talk about. So it doesn't have to be, oh, here's my stats from the last year that you don't have. It's about what's going on right now. And it's relevant to people in that neighborhood, and you get to talk to sellers. But yeah, I'd say, you know, when you said that if you have 100 people in the database and, you know, 10 of them will transact, or maybe 6 of them will transact and give you 6 referrals, and you get 12, that's great. If I could like double how good I am at converting, you know, maybe I can get 20 out of there. But maybe if I don't double how good I am, but I just double the number, then, you know, if the database is doubled, then that's twice as many deals. Even if you didn't like excel in, you know, your skills improving. But I get the sense that the number of reps you have and the number of conversations you have, you'll also have an increase in skills and in scripting.
Yeah, I guess I would say, and I'm here, I know we're in different spots in the game, and even if you're experienced, daily role play, you know, 4 to 5 days a week. Art and I have done some scripting before. You could probably tell when we were role playing that Ford, you know, that gives you confidence. And when you have confidence, people can sense that. So you could be brand new. You know, I'll pick on you, Sean, because I can see your name. If you know what to say and how to overcome the objections, and even if you don't have the answer, you say, hey, you know what, that's a really great question. I'm going to get that answer and get back to you on that. People can tell that you're competent. If you don't have statistics, do you have a market center that sold a couple of homes? And Mike Rapaski probably hands out, they're not, are they called broker metrics? What do you call those anymore, where they're just the statistics in the marketplace, our market share, how many homes we've sold, that sort of thing. Even if you haven't bought or sold a house before with a client, you can use the market center statistics. And especially if you're on a team, we were just talking about that. You know, we have a buyer and seller presentation. We've sold 600 homes in the last 6 years. We'd love to help. You know, it may not be list to sales price, you know, because in the last year, people have been selling 5 and 10% over. Everybody has. However, it may be number of transactions, area, you know, where you're doing transactions, that sort of thing. So I see another comment that says, you just have to do a little more work. Buyers and sellers are out there. You just have to do a little more work to find them. Isn't that the truth, Art?
Yeah, they're out there. If you ever need a reminder, pull up a hot sheet on the MLS. A whole bunch of people listed today, and every day, somebody's working with them. And sometimes it's just one more conversation before the payoff of them working with you.
Whoa, somebody just added 126 people to their database from a video I did on TikTok. I'm going to reach out to every one of them until someone buys something. I love that. And you know what I love about that? Its video is easy to do and it's quick. And whether you do a Facebook video or you're on TikTok or whatever you decide to do, I know that's one thing I don't do enough of. However, when I do a short video, and my goal is always to educate buyers and sellers. So if we come from contribution and we just let buyers and sellers know what's going on in the marketplace, you could do a 30-second video where you just say, hey, listing inventory on Rocky River is super low. It's about 2 months at this point. Average homes are selling at 101% of list to sales price. And we're seeing a hyper seller's market at this point. If you guys need any help or you have friends or family, feel free to give me a call. Quick, easy, 30 seconds on and off, and send it out to your database. But congratulations on adding 126 people. That's a potential 10 more transactions over the next 1 to 2 years. The key to the 10% conversion rate is staying in touch on a regular basis. And I think we do a good job sometimes as agents. And that's, I'm going to call Dominique out. I want to hear about the follow-up on that. I'd be really interested to hear, what the results are, how many people actually, I bet you if you call 126 people, you get, 4 or 5 leads. Art, any comment on that?
I can't specifically comment on TikTok success, but yeah, it's when you provide relevant educational content, it can be engaging as long as you make an offer in it that encourages and allows them to respond and get something of value. So it could be, hey, you got your tax bill in the mail, any questions? And it might just be a conversation about that. They want to dispute that because they want to stay there, or they might be like, is this what values really are? Or this seems different than the market value. Of course it is. But yeah, certainly putting relevant content out there. I'm pretty low key to probably to a fault on social media, and yet direct messages and making that one-to-one contact is probably where I do best. But yeah, that's great. That's I don't think I've done many in a database ad since I uploaded my first database of folks.
We got about 5 more minutes here before we open it up for Q&A. And one of the things I really wanted to encourage you guys to do is to role play these qualifying buyers and qualifying seller sheets. And if we're not practicing with each other, who are we practicing on? The clients, right? And that's not good. We want to know what to say, be professional, sound confident, and talk to a lot of people. So I know that you're supposed to pick role play partners, and I don't know if you guys have them, but I'm sure there's other agents, like-minded agents in the market center. And if you don't have one, I would reach out to your productivity coaches. I believe it's Wesley Croft on the west side and Eric Akbar on the east side. And they would probably be happy to put you with a role play partner. We've done a lot of this in the past, and especially with the sellers. If you're calling for sale by owners or expireds, which are there some expired listings out there, Art?
They are starting to show up, yeah. And the end of the month and the end of the year are often good times to find some folks who did not achieve their goal of selling their home in their desired time frame. Interestingly
enough, too, I've heard agents say, I'm not calling somebody I don't know. Why not? What's our average commission? 7,000, 6,000. It's 5, 6, or 7,000 somewhere in there. Let's say it's $6,000. you know, 3% of 200,000. I know it's higher than that. The average price is probably 300,000 now. But if it's 2.5% of 300,000, it's $7,500. And even if you're on a team, it's half of that. So for $3 to $4 grand, are you willing to be uncomfortable? It's a really good question, you know, and maybe it's not in your funnel, but you know, what we found is for sale by owners. And I know this isn't a for sale by owner class, but it is finding sellers, right? For sale by owners and expireds have what raised, Art?
They have their hand raised. I'm a seller. I want to sell a house. I need
Hey,
help.
hey, call me. I'm a seller. Have you guys ever driven by a FSBO and then seen, you know, another sign in the yard that wasn't your name? It's happened to me, and it's probably happened in your neighborhood. And you're probably like, man, and somebody else knocked on the door and left some residential property disclosures, gave them their card, you know, just said, hey, I noticed the house was for sale. Could you tell me a little bit about it? There's a bunch of different scripts around FSBOs and expireds. But the point is, if you're not making the calls, you know, to FSBOs, to expireds, you're newer or even experienced, and you're like, well, geez, why isn't my business, you know, where it needs to be? One of the things that we did in 2008, and I'll end with, you know, hey, what did we do way back in the day where we were in a shift? What worked is when we called people who, you know, were for sale by owner or expired, or people who were behind on payments and distressed. At that point, there was quite a few foreclosures. But you have to look at what's going on in the marketplace right now, and how do I get in front of those people? And I would say we are seeing listings expire because agents are, what are they doing? The market's been doing this, right? Now it's doing this, but the pricings continues to, in some cases, not at Keller Williams, because we know the marketplace, but sometimes, you're smiling, Art, sometimes listings expire and it's a really, you know, good source of business. Thoughts, Art? What are you doing now? What are you doing what are you doing differently in this shift, or what are you doing in the shift now versus what you didn't do like maybe 2 years ago when it was a little easier?
Well, yeah, I mean, even last year, it would have been, hey, there's a for sale by owner. I might call them, but it might also be sold this weekend, where now you have a little bit of time for the market to speak on pricing, and you know, it might not sell, and they are willing to entertain meeting with an agent. I mean, I talked to someone yesterday and they said, oh, I thought that was to talk to a flat fee, like discount broker. Like, that's not what we are. We're full service. And he said, under no circumstance would I, you know, hire a listing agent. And then 10 minutes later, he's telling me about, you know, his kid's challenges in school and how he needs to move. And I'm like, there's a reason you need to move, and it is important to him. And but before, they might not have kept that door open to say, you know, we should stay in touch. And I do want to talk to a professional. I may want to get an opinion. He didn't just, you know, shut it down and say, you know, I got 5 showings a day, a couple offers. I'm going to find out where we are on Monday. Like, that's not every for sale by owner's experience. And yet now marketing times have normalized, and you're seeing some of those expireds. You're seeing for sale by owners that aren't selling. So get in touch early and continue to stay in touch. And you know, if it's convenient enough, just try to drop by, try to get in front of them, so that even when it was, you know, pretty zesty there, we had one, if you were in the Rocky River office and you get off Hilliard, you would have been on Northview, I think. There was a for sale by owner there for a while, and he ultimately did list with somebody. But I'm like, hey, we're over here lead generating in a few minutes. Can I drop something off? You know, he's like, I'll get off this call. And, you know, we just met in the living room. He wasn't ready for an appointment, but I figured someone was eventually going to get that listing once his motivation got to the point that it was needed to hire a professional.
Yeah, I can promise you, if you're willing to knock on doors, which some people are like, oh my gosh, knock on a door. If somebody's a for sale by owner and you're willing to knock on a door and give them some information, and just introduce yourself. And it may be just handing them the business card at first. Hey, I'm a local real estate professional. I noticed your home was for sale by owner. How's that going? If you call them on the phone, that's a great way to start. Hey, I saw your home was listed. You know, I'm calling about all the homes in the area, so I know the inventory for my buyers. You know, how's it going for you? And they'll tell you. You know, and if somebody actually slams a door in your face, you'll get over it, right? You know, as long as your nose doesn't get caught in the door, and it hasn't happened to us yet. So, how do you stand out? How do you differentiate yourself from the crowd? You know, I think the follow up is where the gold is. We didn't really talk about that too much, but you know, usually it's 4 or 5 times, 6, 7 times sometimes before somebody says yes. Have you had that experience, Art?
Yeah, and it can be a year. It could be, you know, life circumstances didn't dictate that they had to make that move, and they didn't get realistic about their need or what it would take to sell until that time comes. And if you're still in touch, you know, they won't forget about you. You'll be there. So that's happened for buyers and it's happened for sellers. And sometimes that nurture or that watch opportunity, they may be able to tell you approximately when that's going to be. We had someone moving up one time for a job. They had a job offer. They say, I start this date, and when I come, it's going to be me, my newborn, and my in-laws in an Airbnb. So we want to see a bunch of homes real fast. We're going to buy one of them. It's like, okay, awesome. I love that. He becomes a hot lead the day they arrive in Cleveland. You know, he wasn't the person who would buy on video, but you know, those nurtures do become hot leads, and they could be all yours if you get in touch early and stay in touch.
Awesome. So what are our AHAs, which is short for Agent Helping Agent at Keller Williams? Some of the questions in your handout, I'm just going to read them to you and you can think about it, and you can either comment openly, or you can put stuff in the chat box with questions for Art or I, or comments. How has your thinking changed is the first one. And that could be either something you heard today or in the last couple of days. How has your thinking changed? What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? How will your behaviors be different going forward? That's a big one. How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions will you take? And the last one, but not least, what tools, models, or systems will you use, and how will they make you accountable? We didn't talk a lot about accountability, but we love that word. And we have all kinds of systems around accountability. Anybody have any thoughts or comments? Any questions? Anything you want to share? Of the 37 people who are still left. Looks like, okay. Tamara says, working with difficult clients is a choice, even as a new agent. Sometimes the stress isn't worth the check. I'm dealing with this currently. This is my second year. Thank you. Hey, thank you for having the courage to put that in the chat box. And the truth of the matter is, you know, we're only as good as the people around us, right? So meaning we have a great team of people at Keller Williams that really care. We have a great culture. But if we have clients that are not like-minded, and keep in mind too, because I've had clients that, you know, sometimes as a team leader, I might have somebody who might be a better fit for Art or Tim or Charity or somebody on my team. when you're sitting in front of them, you can kind of discern if they're going to be difficult in that first meeting, right? You're asking them questions. They're not on the same page with you. They don't want to get pre-qualified or whatever their deal is. And they might be going through a very difficult situation as well. So there's emotional things in the background that we don't know about. And I think you have to make that decision. Is this a piece of business that I can, work through? Or is this a client that somebody I know in the brokerage could work with and I could earn a 25% referral fee? Because sometimes, depending on your own personality, people want to be told, hey, here's what we do next. Here's the next steps. And if you have some challenges directing people, or kind of guiding them in the process and educating them, maybe there's another agent that you can partner up with and pass referrals to. But what do we say, Art? You're not in the business until you fire somebody?
Yeah, and it's good to, one of the scripts that I'll often use with a person is explaining things like the buyer agency agreement. And, it indicates on there that it can be ended at any time by either you or me. You can fire me, I can fire you. I tend not to fire my clients. And yet, we leave that in there, and it makes them realize that we are choosing our business while at the same time utilizing things like, our buyer lead sheets and our seller, seller lead sheets, so that we know we're asking the same questions to everybody. Everybody's getting qualified in the same way. Because I've had a time where someone asked me something down the road. They said, I'm confident you said this or did this. And I'm like, that would be really surprising, because I ask people all the same questions, and that's never a question I've asked somebody. And certainly when it comes to somebody making a fair housing accusation, it's good to have documentation that here's how I qualify my clients, my buyers and sellers. Haven't had an issue with that, but Keller Williams tells us to mention that. That's one of the good things about documentation, is that it shows you have a system and that's what you follow when you're qualifying clients.
Yeah, I see another comment in the chat there about having a difficult client. And, sometimes that happens. Don't kick yourself. It's part of the process. Stay determined. People aren't always going to receive what you have to give. As long as you care about people and you're working hard, we can't. I think we just, that was weird. We almost lost power. So if we lose you, it's, was a power outage here in Rocky River, but we can only control what we say and do and how we pour into others. We can't control how other people react. And I think, getting back to this comment, and I'm going to maybe butcher the name, Shakisha, maybe it was in the buyer intake, but maybe this person just wasn't 100% ready to buy. Sometimes people want to go out and look and they're not really ready. Or they really don't know because we didn't ask them enough deep questions. And there's really good templates for buyer presentations and seller presentations. We talked about pre-qualifying today, but the seller and the buyer presentations, practicing those, getting really good at them, and then really being able to say back to your client, hey, when we talked, you said 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this particular neighborhood, very little repairs, and we put it in front of you. What's changed in your life now that you're not willing to move forward? So I don't know. I think we might have lost Art. Carrie, are you still on the call?
Yeah. Oh, it looks like we did. I don't know if the internet is being
Yeah,
weird over there, but
yeah, it's a little bit. We just hit. There was just a boom, like one of the power transformers got nailed or whatever. We have a couple minutes left. If anybody has anything that they want to throw at me as far as a question or concern or just a comment, things that are challenges for you right now, working with buyers or sellers in the pre-qualification process, finding motivated buyers and sellers. I'm here for a couple more minutes. If not, we can wrap it up. But one of the things too, as an Ignite instructor and and student many, many, many times. If you guys stick to the basics, right? If you have 10 real estate conversations each and every day, and you're working 5 days a week, and you talk to 50 different people about real estate, and at the end of that conversation, if you say, you know, hey, Carrie, I really enjoyed our conversation today. You know, if anybody's that you know is ever thinking about buying or selling real estate, I'd love to help. Would you let me know? And you would probably say, yeah, because people are, in general, they want to help us, right? And when you come at people in that way, I want to help. And, you know, if you can think of anybody now that needs to buy or sell, I think Art's jumping back on. I'd love to help. We're helping people. We're not selling. I'm going to date myself and say encyclopedias, back to the door-to-door sales, but we're not selling that something that people don't want. Everybody wants to know how much their home is worth. And they want, if they're in the buying or selling process, they need help from a trusted, qualified professional like you, right? So we need to get that confidence up, and we do that when we have multiple conversations. And you may have noticed this in your own career. If you're on the phone one day and you're just talking to people and you're like, you kind of get in that zone and you're overcoming objections, you get a couple appointments, your confidence is up. It's because you're practicing your inactivity. So don't lose that. Adding those folks into command, systematically touching them, whether it's 19 to connect, 36 to convert, get a database touch plan. There's plenty of resources in the market center to touch the folks in your database. And then by far, the handwritten note is the most valuable thing that you could do each and every day. And if you don't do 10 a day, if you just did 2 a day, you have a really good conversation with somebody. You have their home address, you let them know how much you appreciated the conversation. You drop a business card or 2 in there and just thank them for their time. I am so grateful that you took the time, Venus, to talk to me today. And if anybody you know needs help, ever needs help, I would love to help
My
them.
name.
Well, I saw your name on the screen, so I thought I would call you out, but you know what I'm saying? People, you know, love to get handwritten notes, and you're just showing that like you're going the extra mile. The last tip, and this is the $1 million tip for 2023, have coffee dates with people. You know, figure out whether it's 10, 20, or 50 people who are influencers, or people, maybe you only have 50 people in your database, meet with one person a week, have coffee with them, you know, save up, you know, I think it's $2 at Panera. Save up $100, go have coffee with 50 people, and go into that meeting, do a little bit of research on the person. If they have a business, find out a little bit more about them, and go into the meeting with the attitude, how can I help you? You know, if it's a small business person that's a painter or a carpenter or a mortgage person, if you met with small business people, one person a week all year, thanks, Sam, for your participation and comments. You would really improve your business. And that's one thing that I'm going to get back to. If I have 1 hour a week where I meet with somebody for coffee, ask them how I can help them. And of course, at the end, hey, if there's anybody you know that needs my real estate help, I'm here to help, and we'd love to do it. We have a great team of people, whether it's East Side or West Side, right, Art? We work both sides of town. And finally, don't forget social media. Get out there and comment on what's going on in people's lives. And, you know, what's great about that is you can see life events, right? If their kids are graduating from school, somebody had a new baby, you know, one, it's maybe they need more space. And 2, you know, hey, congratulations. Just saw that you guys had another baby. That's awesome. So happy for you. And it's not like, hey, I'm in real estate. They know you're in real estate, but you're on their feed saying, hey, so those, you know, 5 comments, those 10 likes, those 5 comments, and then maybe an educational post week after week after week after week after week. Man, that Art Wells, he's all over Facebook. I see him all the time. And it's funny, you might have automated emails going out and you're doing these comments on social media, and people will be like, man, I see you everywhere. Any final thoughts, Art?
Oh, I mean, I love the buyer you had on a drip for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and down in like Boca or whatever, and he's like that Pete Formica, he's a hustler. He's up at 6 a.m. emailing me. You know.
I was on a floor call, you guys. I'll end with this. It's funny. Hello, this is Larry. I'm calling you from Florida. I need to buy a condo and I need to buy it really soon. Can you help me? And I'm like, who is this guy? It was a floor call. And for some reason, it got routed from Pepper Pike to Rocky River. And I'm like, Larry, love to help. And we went through the buyer questionnaire. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you properties every day. He goes, you're going to send me properties every day? Yeah, every day. So I put him on a drip. And then I turned him over to Art because after, I don't know, 3 months or something, I didn't hear from him. We're following up. And he says, hey, Art, that Pete, he's a hustler. He gets up at 6:15 every day and he sends me new properties. And so it took 2 or 3 years. That guy bought a house with us.
Yeah, you eventually got here.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I would end with a little bit of humor. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I put my information, my email address and my cell phone. Call me, text me if you guys need any help. If you're an inexperienced agent and you need somebody to go on a presentation with you, I will do that for you. Just give me a little bit of advance notice. I'm still a young dad and I got a lot of stuff going on, and yet you guys are important to us. We love all you guys. Go get them in 23. And remember, do whatever it takes to get that appointment.
Thank you guys so much. I'll send your contact info out as follow-up to everyone as well. But thank you guys again. Have a great day and be sure to join us tomorrow for our next session of Ignite at 1 p.m. as well. Bye,
Awesome.
everyone.
You guys.